country. That was the first Congress of the PNC since it has assumed office. And I'm sure the country, as I was waiting for the findings of the Congress. Most of us were hopeful that the Congress would give answers to the many questions that we have raised over the past year. And Guyanese were waiting with bated breath about for the definition of the future that we thought the Congress will present to us. I must say that I was very, very disappointed, because I was hoping that out of the Congress we would have had great clarity on where our country is going in an economic sense, the greater clarity about the issue of cooperation and social cohesion and bringing people together, all manifesto of the AFC coalition, that we would have had greater clarity on the development plans for Guyana. As I said before, I was disappointed. We heard the president attempting to define his government and what will guide his government. And he said, we will look for inspiration and policies from the Burnham era. So he placed Burnham at the center of the philosophy of his government. And he sought to define Burnham in two ways, basically. That Burnham was egalitarian in outlook, and that is important to guide his government. And Burnham was nationalist in outlook. And if those are the only two things that Burnham stood for, Mr. Burnham stood for, then we're all Burnhamites, because we in the PPP believe that there's intrinsic worth in people of all social classes. They have equal worth, and we believe if that is how egalitarianism is defined. And we're all nationalists because he sought to say Burnham was nationalist. He fought strongly to maintain our territory. All done that, every Guyanese. But Burnham stood for much more than just those two things, being egalitarian and being nationalist. Burnham is a very controversial figure, like most presidents are. But if you trace the era that Burnham lived in and practiced his policies in, you would see that that era has been characterized not by egalitarianism, but by significant acts of discrimination, by a failing economy, in fact a failed economy, economic hardships, by a repressive state. Look at the findings of the commission of inquiry, what they found not about the killing of Walter Rodney itself, but about the era in which he lived and in which he was killed. They found that it was a society characterized by fear. And Burnham, no one can mention Burnham without talking about rigged elections, lack of democracy. So clearly, there may be good things about Burnham. If the President Granger wants to call him nationalist and that he defended our borders, we all supported that. In fact, the PPP gave critical support for the PNC in those years in defense of our territorial integrity. But the era today, 2016, obligates us to look beyond Burnham. Burnham lived in a different period. He lived in the Cold War period, a period when this society was closed. We were isolated from the rest of the world. Many of our people fled Guyana to seek fortunes elsewhere, where there was no freedom of the press. A very different era. 2016 needs a new set of policies. And so it was my hope that those policies would have been announced and spoken about at the Congress. So the things that we heard from the President that came close to policy making was, one, that they were going to close the gap between hinterland development and coastal development. And we are supportive of this, very supportive. In fact, the PPP has done exactly that over the many years. But if the President actually believes this, then the billions of dollars that we left through the Norwegian agreement to fund the community development plans should not be withheld, but be used immediately to change the lives of people in the hinterland. So what we heard was the rhetoric of development for the hinterland. But in reality, the money that is sitting there, left by the PPP for hinterland development, is not being spent. And when it's spent, the things that are purchased, like the solar panels, etc., are diverted to coastal use. Secondly, we heard the President said, we want to close the education gap between 1%, the top 1% which does extremely well, and the 50% that does poorly. But how? Until now, his education ministry, I think they're still talking about a commission of inquiry. How are you going to do it? The PPP had defined a way forward. We had moved from universal primary education, we are moving to universal secondary education. And we were going to use information communication technology to close the gap in many parts of the country. I don't want to speak at length because I can do so about our education plan. We had defined a plan, a 5-year plan for doing so. But we've heard the President speak about this again, and we have not heard the key thing, how they plan to do this. We've heard about social cohesion. The President again mentions the buzzwords. social cohesion. But the practice of his government is very different, does not support social cohesion. The president speaks about 23 years of mismanagement on the PPP. Mismanagement. And this country has moved from a bankrupt state that was in the clutches of the IMF to a upper middle income country now. A poor, hippie country when we took office that was burdened with debt, couldn't pay its bill, had gone to the IMF for those reasons because it was bankrupt, to today an upper middle income country defined. And he spoke about 23 years of PPP misrule. The president repeats what he's been saying. I am for a green economy. In fact, the whole Congress was about a green economy. And what single policy measure did he announce at the Congress to support the movement towards a green economy? None. In fact, he says what he has said on the campaign trail again. We want to utilize biomass and solar and wind and water resources to generate cheap renewable energy. He has said that, and his government has been saying this for almost 2 years now, since on the campaign trail. But they have not, this will not fall from the sky. They killed the hydropower that was going to do that. What initiative do they have to do this? Not a single. He didn't mention the low carbon development strategy to decarbonize transport, not just electricity. He did not speak about catalyzing new low carbon sectors that would generate the wealth of the future. Nothing of this sort. But the whole Congress was about a movement of green economy. And so we heard again the rhetoric on the speech, the president's speech to the Congress. A repetition of the manifesto promises, a good life for everyone, jobs, lots of jobs for people, but no clear definition. Not a single. I was looking through the speech over and over, and in fact all the speeches of the Congress, and not a single policy measure. All declarative statements that can be traced back to their manifesto. And so, things like we have put in place new tongues, Mabaruma, Bartika, etc. And these tongues are going to cause the hinterland to develop. How is it going to happen? How would just naming Bartika township now or Mabaruma township make a difference if you're not going to put in the infrastructure? So this Congress was about rhetoric. We don't have, when they went into the Congress, we didn't know what the government policy was on the economy, and they came out of the Congress, and we still don't know where the country is going. Not just on the economy, but in every other sector. And so it was a huge disappointment. The Congress was a huge disappointment. Young people were listening with bated breath. I know some young people from Apnu because they talked to me, and they were hopeful that at the Congress you would have a definition of these issues. Nothing of the sort. So many of them were totally disappointed. I just want to deal with, outside of the Congress, and still on the same theme of economic development. We've been told over and over, in fact Ranjitan just said it, that in a couple of years' time, the oil money will come. So they're waiting for the oil money. This is the economic strategy of the government, waiting for oil money. And so we've heard recently that the jobs are not going to be here. They're going to be 100, 150 jobs that will be onshore. So a lot of the people that they've been telling, young people and others, hold on that you're going to get thousands of jobs. Wait for a couple years more, that you're going to have thousands of jobs when the oil, when we start pumping the oil. ExxonMobil has made it very clear. In fact, they said, we don't know who is telling this to people. They were very clear about that. That the jobs that we have now, the people we've already hired, it's highly unlikely we're going to hire many more. So that's done. And secondly, they said, full production will be around 2020. Full production. And that is if everything goes well. So all this talk about oil money coming in next year and the following year, and that the thousands of jobs that will be generated, it's just being exposed as just talk. And in any case, when the revenue comes in, a significant part will have to go to the sovereign wealth fund. So if they're hoping that this would have been the saving, and that this lazy economic policy that they have, just to sit around and wait on the oil money, would have changed the circumstances of Guyana in the short term. They have another thing coming. We've also seen recently the Minister of Business saying that he wants to now add another layer of bureaucracy to do due diligence on investors. So another hurdle to come to Guyana. Has he defined what would be the parameters of the due diligence? So it sounds good textbook-wise, but it's another hurdle to business coming to Guyana. Now everyone wants to insulate Guyana from illicit funds coming to here. But isn't it hypocritical that they want to do due diligence on investors and did not do due diligence on the man that they brought back to head the Georgetown Hospital Board who's convicted for drug? Now, they didn't do due diligence on another person hired at GWI who had been convicted twice in the US for drug dealing. It is the hypocrisy of the government. So once again, another hurdle to the business community. And our PPM, the Post Office Prime Minister, has now, he has absolutely nothing to do. So he wants to get involved in the bit because they've been taking a lot of heat on the economy. Everybody's been saying, from poor people to rich people being saying, oh, things are now going well, the economy is slowing down. So the Post Office Prime Minister said, an investor came and spoke with me, and he wants to invest in Guyana. Imagine you're announcing not the investment, not even the application for the investment, but just someone speaking to him about investing in Guyana, and he is announcing that. This guy has nothing to do, absolutely nothing. All he's doing, collecting backs and posing in the newspaper and making these announcements. Absolutely nothing to do. Absolutely nothing. And so this is not how you're going to change the economy. The country is hurting. The business community is hurting. Poor people are losing their jobs. Go to the construction sites or many of the business places that can't meet payroll now and find out how many people are being laid off. It's happening right across the country, not just in the sugar belt or the rice belt, in construction, in almost every sector, in retail trade, in the mining area, in forestry. Every week we come here and we lament this issue because we're hoping that somehow we'll wake up this government to action, that they will do something because they have the resources to do it. But they feel, as I said before, some year, maybe not a year back, that this government lives in a cocoon, delusional, lives in this ivory tower. So guess what Ramjatan says? Ramjatan says, oh, this country must basically be very grateful to them. I'm going to just, in an interview he gave, he said, I'm just going to put it short. All of Guyana is now benefiting. Imagine if we did not do what we did. So this is the benefits that Guyana has been getting since they got into office. Imagine if we did not do what we did. Would we have gone and done all forensic audits to see how the PPP was thieving? Would we have gone on to start budgeting in December? We are dealing with oil now that will bring wealth to us in a couple of years. These are the three things he listed as benefiting Guyanese. One, that they did some forensic audits, that they are still unwilling to release the audits and the responses to the audits and take action against people, charge those who are found guilty, unwilling to do that. He made some excuse, oh, they don't have witness protection in Guyana, so they can't charge people now. So that's one of the benefits they brought to Guyana. The second benefit is they're going to start budgeting in December. How does that help people? How does that help ordinary people? Whether you budget in December or March, does not make a difference to people. And we're dealing with the oil now to bring in wealth, great wealth in a couple, 2 years. That is what Ramjatan gives us, Guyana benefiting from them. And I must say, I was embarrassed at him. He went on to talk about how they are extremely bright people. Nobody talks about themselves like that way. We are very bright and worthy ministers and stuff like that. This is the government, vintage government thing. They believe that they're doing extremely well when the country is suffering tremendously. I want to just say that I've seen the salary increases, the proposal of the government. This is after Nagumotu pointed out at the Media rally that they had set aside $50 billion this year to deal with wages and salaries and allowances and benefits. $50 billion, he said. Now, you calculate what $50 billion in percentage terms would mean. It would be over 100% wages and salary increase. That's what he said at the Media rally. Now we're told at a maximum of 1 to 10%. So what is the average? Because it has to be weighted. Because most people tend to use the upper number. And so I heard people saying, oh, the PPP, oh, they're getting 10% and they used to get 5% under the PPP. But one, they promise the public servants substantial increases. Secondly, they took the youth salary increases for themselves. And when you look at the weighted average, it's not 10%. It's like what they did. Remember, they announced a high percentage, but made it effective from July the last time. It's fancy footworks again. When you look at the weighted average, I think this could be, depending on the dispersion and how many people are in different categories, it may be around 6.7% increase across the board if you do that. So it's not 10%. It's not 10% because you have to look at the total, how much it will cost, and then look at that is a percentage of the wage bill, and that will give you the average increase. So people have to be very, very careful about this. I've seen now they have said, when the GPSU was indicating that they had all of these large sums of money in the semi-autonomous agency, that they said we were keeping there to steal. The last press conference, I spoke about that they said they transferred the funds to the Treasury already, and it's not true. They have tens of billions of dollars sitting in the bank accounts of these entities that they had argued that we were keeping the money outside of the consolidated fund to steal. Oh, tens of billions of dollars sitting there now. And so now they said, we've transferred all the money over to the Treasury, the consolidated fund. I asked last week that you check it out. It's not so. The money, billions of dollars are sitting outside of the consolidated fund. So it's either they transfer it in now because, and fulfill their election promises, but I think if they transfer it in now, then the GPSU demand will be, people would say, well, you can afford a bit more to pay the public servants. I've seen, I'm not going to go on much more. I'm very concerned about Linden and what's happening with the tolls. I've had a lot of people call me from Linden about the impact of the toll on the road. And it's a couple of things. Apart from the hardships for people in that community and driving away of investors and pushing up costs to people who live in the community, we are in a process of balkanizing Guyana. Because what if Corriverton now, which has a main road, you have to pass Corriverton to go to Suriname. They say now that vehicles passing through here will now have to pay a toll. The government can't say no because it has allowed Linden to do it. And what if another municipality does it? Then we could have what I was always worried about, like when they had all these different flags, they were thinking about flags for Guyana, every region having its own flag. It's disintegration of this country, balkanization. And it is very, very dangerous. And I hope that the government will reconsider it. I just want to say that I saw, I know by now you would have seen the SOPU protocol. You have received a copy of it. Have you not? Well, we were sent the SOPU protocol. And we saw Ramjatan signed on it, saying yes, he approved it, the SOPU protocol. So, I just want to give you an indication of how disorganized this government is, just using this protocol. So the protocol goes on there, including the following. 1. Participation in an organized criminal group and racketeering. 2. Terrorism, including terrorist financing. 3. Trafficking in human beings and migrant smuggling. 4. Sexual exploitation, including sexual exploitation of children. 5. Illicit trafficking in narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances. 6. Illicit arms and ammunition trafficking. 7. Corruption and bribery. 8. Fraud. 9. Counterfeiting currency. 10. Counterfeiting and piracy of products. So your Milo, if you get your fake Milo, they'll be doing that too. 11. Environmental crimes. 12. Murder, grievous bodily harm. 13. Kidnapping, illegal restraint and hostage taking. 14. Robbery or theft. 15. Smuggling. 16. Extortion. 17. Forgery. 18. Piracy. 19. Insider trading and market manipulation. 20. Tax evasion. And 21. Gold smuggling. This is the special organized crime unit that was set up to go after money laundering and terrorist financing to support the FIU, has now been given the mandate 21 items, the whole police force. What else is there for the police force? This is so good now. So this is what Ramjatan says SOCU can do. Then Basil Williams comes along and he says, this SOCU shouldn't be under the police because it supports, it's supposed to support the FIU. So we're thinking now about transferring SOCU to the FIU. So when SOCU goes with this mandate to the FIU, if you got DVDs and stuff like that, they'll be coming after you. You know, a fake DVD. This is the nonsense that goes on in the government. Useless bunch of ministers. A useless bunch of ministers. They don't even know what they're doing. And this pervades almost everything that they do. The incompetence is phenomenal, unbelievable. And so, I don't know. It's hard to even comment on something like this. Hard to do it. And the same point with Sarah. We said there are laws now to charge people on any single thing. Theft, corruption, stealing state assets. You can charge them now and go after them. You don't need new laws. But the new laws are designed to give power to a few specific people for witch hunting purposes. And so it is something that I wonder how Ramjatan will deal with that now. I saw Basil Williams saying that the settlement, we had made a settlement with DK prior to the elections. That's an absolute lie. And Basil Williams knows that himself. In the past 8 months, since Kaichor News, I think, broke that story about the settlement, they've never mentioned this once. He's never mentioned this throughout all the debates in Parliament when we were questioning the settlement. He never stood up and said, but you would agree to settle this, so why are you raising any issue about it? In fact, they said that there was a lawsuit for $10 million. That was their excuse. And now, because they're cornered now, it had to be that the PPP agreed to the settlement. That is how everything that is bad has to be put at the step of the PPP. And he said that there are many other settlements that they plan to do. Unashamedly, incompetence and rape of the treasury. Rape of the treasury. On all of these matters. And so, we don't know how many other settlements are being made on a daily basis. In fact, the settlements could have probably funded another 15% on the wages increase to the public servants. So if they were giving 10% or say 6% on average, 7%, people could have gotten over 20% if they hadn't made some of these youth settlements. And a few people benefit from these settlements. So I'm going to end here and turn it back to you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you will state your name and media house, and then you will put your question. Yes.
Edward Lely, Valentine's. Mr. Jagdeo, you spoke about the current economic situation in the country and so forth, and about one of the three achievements that Mr. Ramthan has spoken about that has to do with budgets. However, recently we've heard that the 2016 budget is just about 50% implemented in terms of spending. We just have about just over 2 months remaining for another budget. Your views?
My view is they're going to do a lot more single sourcing. They're going to do a lot more single sourcing. They wouldn't be able to implement all the projects. They may try to keep the books open, which is illegal after the new budget is presented to Parliament. So we'll be watching carefully to see what date they will close the books, the Accountant General. And we'll ask the Auditor General to look at that too, to see that the books are closed before the new budget is presented. Because what they may seek to do is to keep the books open in the period that they've presented the budget. But it's not how often you do the budget. You know, it's a fetish. It makes you look competent. It seems as though the government is all into how it looks. So it looks competent. Oh, we managed to put a budget, pass a budget in December. But what sense does it make if it's not going to, if you can't even spend the resources that you put in place or you want to implement? And these units that I see or that the president wants to put in place, they're not going to make much of a difference. The incompetence comes from the cabinet, the vindictiveness. I saw two things that shocked me. That the cabinet is in recess, and then they clarified that it's not in recess. We just took a break. I had cabinet, I chaired cabinet for over 12 years. We've never had a recess or break. They're tired already, 15 months. They need a break. Cabinet recess. Over 12 years, we've never had it. Even when I'm out of the country, at least the business gets done. I call back home. And stuff like that. And they're in recess. And then I heard Nagamutu say, another post office kind of announcement. We have sent, the Parliament has now sent the names for the Public Procurement Commission to the President. What is that? If it's sent to the President, then the President needs to appoint the people. Here we're getting an announcement that it is being sent, nothing from the office of the President when they plan to swear in the people, but the Prime Minister makes a very profound announcement that Parliament has sent over the names to the office of the President. This is it. And then Ramjatan says, oh, please swear in this PPC so that we don't have to be corrupt anymore. They need the PPC in place so as not to be corrupt. That is it. I was shocked when I saw that. Oh, I'm begging the President to quickly swear this in. You can't trust the ministers to make so that to make decisions that are not corrupt, the cabinet. So they need the PPC to prevent them making corrupt decisions. And this is the same group of people who said they needed the big salary increase so as not to be corrupt. And they took the salary increase, the big salary increase, so as not to be corrupt. And now they're saying we need the PPC to ensure that we are not corrupt too anymore, that we take away the thing. Well, the fact is that we had long ago taken away the right of the cabinet to award contracts. They only had a no objection rule, and if they exercised the no objection rule, they had to state the reason why. We had long ago done that. And I want to know, in the contract for the office, the professional office that we're hearing now is a bond, Success Street, whether this question was asked, I think it was one of our members of parliament asked, did the Central Tender Board give a no objection for the single sourcing? Because that is a requirement before cabinet offers its no objection. Did the Central Tender Board, because the Ministry of Health should have sought the Central Tender Board approval to waive the tender regulations and single source. And was that done? Because if that was not done, and the cabinet went ahead and gave its no objection, without the permission from the Central Tender Board, then the cabinet is complicit. And I know they're complicit. That is why they would not say who identified the guy, because it was not Norton alone. Norton is the scapegoat. He should face the music because he lied in Parliament. But this scandal goes deep into the cabinet, and they had a cover-up. They've been engaged in a cover-up of this matter. And so, coming back to those issues, I don't see any reason. It's not going to change with implementation. If the cabinet is vindictive, you know what they've done several times? Many projects can't move forward. Huge projects that have large sums of money budgeted. Because if a person wins the bid that they don't like, this is after 3 months of tender, evaluation, recommendation. They annul the bid. Some bids have gone to the Inter-American Development Bank, where people who they didn't like, who were not politically close to them, won the bids. They then turn around and annul the tender process and to start all over again. That would take you now another 6 months, because that's how long an international tender takes. So that is why some of the projects can't move on the implementation. Not because of a lack of a planning unit in some ministries. The president should look at the vindictiveness. And you heard Trotman say, you know, we were not in a mood to give GPC anything. The cabinet is not in a mood to give. Not as though we got to get the best deal for our money. But we are not in the mood. Well, they are not in the mood to do a lot of things. And that is why you have slow implementation. So you may want to track some of these things too, because every week or whenever I speak here, I ask you to follow up on things. The rental contracts for some ministers, where they're spending $1 million to keep ministers in houses, many of them. You can ask the government about that. And this is one about whether they have terminated the tender process for some big contracts after recommendations have been made from the tender board on the direction of cabinet. The direction of cabinet or a minister. So this is why you're going to have underspending. The minister of the communities, look at their money in the NDCs. The people can't have their budget. They're getting $3 million. And they can't even have him approve their budgets to spend the $3 million or $4 million that they get in their communities. It's the year has come to an end. How can you have any spending in the economy and those places? Incompetence.
That's my sister report. The FATA team is expected here in about 2 weeks. Given the stipulations and the social protocols, do you think that will have an impact on your review of us?
Well, first of all, we are not. I made it clear that we're not going to try to harm the interests of Ghana. We're not going to act like how they did when twice they did not support or amendment to that bill. And that would have avoided us being part of the review process had we passed those amendments in time. And twice they voted against them and put our country at risk. And it is so hypocritical for Basil to say, look, within a year we did it. We're out, and that's not true. That because they put us in the review process. But so we're not going to talk to the people and tell them about all of these things. Go back to the past. I think they know that enough already globally who the culprits were, because they were engaged with us over the years, and they knew that the same people who are now saying that they so want these bills or the system in place, they were the ones who were preventing us putting those arrangements in place. Now, on their own finding, though, these people are going to find a SOPU, which was set up to support this, now doing environmental crime. So if you Jill, I know they were coming after you for your vehicle and stuff, whole vehicle and stuff. If your trench is like overgrown, they may charge you. Better make sure the trench in front of your place is clean. And so that sort of thing. They will find out that SOPU has been politicized. They find out that all the arrangements that that Basil spoke about when he informed them that we had a fully functional FIU when he went to the meeting, the last meeting, and they believed him and they issued a statement that it's not true. In fact, they've decided to put in place the people from mid-next month. Why do you need mid this month? September. Why do you need that? Until then, to delay everything. So they will find a lot of deficiencies, and they will find a government that is not serious about going after real cases of money laundering, but is more concerned with using the state machinery, SARU, SOPU, FIU, everybody, to come after political opponents. That's what they are finding. And we'll talk to them about it.
We support the removal of SOPU from the Yankee store, and if the government will never remove it, what do you think will be the likely implications for diabetes?
Well, the thing is that I don't support it. I don't support the removal of SOPU from the police force, that's one. The police force, even though you may have capricious action, but they're governed by laws, protocols, regulations, SOPs, etc. So you can almost 90% of the time anticipate how they will act because they're predictable since they have to follow rules. There are times when they will act outside the norm, but that could easily be traced because then you will see a departure from regulations or the law. When you when you transfer these powers to bodies that report to ministers or office of the president, etc., that's when it becomes a black hole, becomes amorphous. You don't know how they will act, and they will be influenced to take political action against opponents. And so we believe the unit was set up under the police to support the FIU. That's what the FIU needs. The FIU doesn't need a policing arm. It needs the support of the police force. And so that's what we are supporting. But clearly, this mandate, this is a special organized crime unit. It can't do 21 things. It has to go back to its core function, which was money laundering and terrorist financing. There are other places to deal in the police force where they deal with piracy and smuggling and fraud and murder. You have the CID department, or environmental crime, or counterfeiting of products. Though that's not for so. That's not for so.
Canada doesn't work today again, police force.
Yes, but they work with the Ghana police force has a department, a narcotics department. So they work in collaboration. They have a protocol as to how they work.
Mr. Jagdeo, on the issue of the economy again, you will be lambasting the government of not putting forward any proper economic plan, development plan for the country. The president at the recording of his program today would have said that why you continue to bombard the government about its failure to produce any economic plan. You yourself, while you have served as president and over the years with the PP in office, has failed to actually put forward a viable economic development plan for Guyana.
Well, I've gone through that issue a couple of times before. Did I not deal with that the last time? I think I dealt with it. The president believes that if you call something any other thing apart from a plan, that it's not important. It's not a plan. So he says the only time we had plans were in the 60s when we actually had a couple of things called plans. But I had to explain that strategies are bigger than plan because they encompass specific plans and policies and programs and projects and funds to achieve an outcome. So take, for example, the low carbon development strategy. It was a development strategy, low carbon. It says that in the future, we are going to choose a different pathway to prosperity, a low carbon pathway, a different trajectory, but using different tools, okay, and emphasizing the role of different sectors. So that's the objective of it. Prosperity for Ghana, growth in income, creation of more jobs, etc., creation of more wealth, but doing it with a low carbon trajectory. As part of this plan, we had a series of projects that will give effect to the 6 or 7 sectors that we said will generate the wealth of the future. So the airport was connected to one sector, in fact 2 sectors. The airport expansion program. One was to lower the cost of air freight by a bigger runway, larger planes coming in, so you can then ship more perishable goods out of the country. So that will give a big boost to non-traditional agriculture and the tourism sector, because more acting as a hub, bringing in more people through Guyana, etc., more tourists. The Marriott was supposed to support that, the tourism. The Deepwater Harbor was to lower freight because the cost of freight makes many of our products, especially bulk products, uncompetitive globally because compared we don't have a Deepwater Harbor. That is what it was supposed to do. And then linked with Brazil, it would have served as an important port for export of products from northern Brazil, but import of products not just for Guyana, but also Brazil. So a whole set of developments surrounding that. The hydropower was to bring cheaper electricity to people. The specialty hospital was moving to tertiary care for Guyanese in partnership, but also you help tourism because a lot of Guyanese, once you finish dealing with your heart surgeries here, then you could have had people come in, Guyanese who live in North America and have to pay $30,000 to do open heart surgery, come here and do it for $5,000. That sort of thing. Everything linked up. And then the money earned from the Norwegian program was to catalyze a development or fund a development plan for 200 Amerindian villages, create a center for biodiversity studies that would have generated a new export, which is the export of educational services in the environment, because you could generate thousands of jobs or students coming here, to study because of our unique environment, etc. It was supposed to be used for adaptation, for new varieties of crops that would be water resistant or drought resistant. Everything had a connection, and I can go through it. It was a development strategy that focused, even with oil and gas, we factored oil and gas in by saying that it would be an important sector, but it would not fit into our low carbon future. But since we are not required, since the Kyoto Protocol, our per capita emission is probably 2 tons compared to 20 odd tons by many other countries. It's less than 2 tons. Then we still had room to develop some of those sectors without affecting our green strategy. Everything was thought out. I'm just picking a few things, but I can go through and show it graphically. If you look at our manifesto, you would see we had the goals, the policies, the supporting infrastructure, and outcomes. So you'll see a lot of that outlined even in a graphical form, how we plan to change the country and create wealth for the future. They have no knowledge of any details. They just don't. So the president is wrong. If they want to have a debate about an economic plan, why not invite us to debate about the economic strategy? I'd send some of our people.
Any other questions?
One other question, apart from away from this thing, it has to do with the AP and UFC shortly, or even before they would have assumed office. They were spoken about having detailed crime fighting strategy. We have seen over the months, of course, police force has been solving a number of crimes, a number of court cases as well. But there seems still to be a high number of crimes taking place, particularly armed robberies. Is it in any way your party's intention to go to Parliament to see if we can somehow press the government to make public the comprehensive crime fighting strategy that they promised?
We can try, but this government, look how long it took to get this protocol. And then this is what we got. that we got this protocol. So we can try to get something from them on crime fighting, etc. But I'm not very hopeful. This is one of the most secretive governments I've ever seen. Imagine you pardon 70 odd people, and it has become a state secret. Even the speaker would not allow us to ask for the names of the people. This is the first country in the world where members of parliament, we're not questioning the right of the president to do it. We're just asking, who these people were. And the executive will not give the answer. And we believe that the reason they're not giving the answer is because, contrary to what they told the public, that these are people who stole cell phones, etc., that there were some high-profile criminals who were clients of some of the lawyers in the AFC coalition who were on that list. And that is why they are refusing to give the names, because they released some of their clients, got together and concoct the list, sent it to the office of the president. And the president will never, he talks a lot about transparency, but it's just all yeah. He's getting in. I don't know, as I said before, the president is becoming increasingly ceremonial. Not like an executive president. Imagine he says, release the contracts, release these, we have nothing to hide. And nobody pays attention to him. His own government, they come and say, no, we can't do that. He says the JSC should be the one determining the appointments for people. And then Basil Willen goes and says, no, I'm not too interested in that. So it's becoming increasingly ceremonial.
On the same
Yes.
Yeah, my clarification is, in regards to the GWI, well, or the GWI, well, all this stuff, and the involvement of the GWI chairman, that is there a conflict of interest and what are the reasons?
I don't know about the involvement of the chairman.
In regards to sponsorship with Green Atlantic.
Yes, but let me just say that, because I thought you'd ask me about our thing and the web, and that how. Yes, sure. In the privatization, and there's a document done, because that's something that we now, the next phase that we want to deal with, because you've had charges about theft, large-scale theft of resources from all these agencies, and the audits have proven different. So the next group of issues that we want to tackle publicly are the privatizations that took place under APNU and under the PPP. There's a document that was prepared, and in that document it will show the process that we went through in privatizing everything, including the Senate. So that would be that. But one thing was clear throughout all of this, the privatization, that the 9,000 people who are benefiting from the water, that they will continue to benefit from that. And GWI didn't have to pay GPC, or not GPC, the Queen's Atlantic, for the water. That the well, although it was located in Sanata, continued to serve West Ruimveldt and the 9,000 people. And that continued through it all. So whether it's owned or not by Queen's Atlantic, one thing was clear, is that the water will go to the community. That's the first issue. And we'll come back, as I said before, I want to start in the next round, because we got a lot of heat over the past several years about how we privatize, and I want to show the difference, the steps that we took, and to vindicate many of the people in the privatization unit. On the other matter, you have to ask the other people about conflict of interest. I don't know much about what took place and all of that stuff. You would have to ask them, but I can deal with the privatization part because that took place under a PDP government.
Vanessa, you want to-
Oh, on the same kind of situation, whenever the president mentions or refers to the situation again, he's referring to the fact that what we're